It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of January 14th, 2005. We got 3 movies to look at today, and while we are still in the dumping months of the year, we have a group of movies here where some of them are definitely bad, others not as bad as you would think they were, and some movies that are actually kind of good. I can easily tell you the biggest new release of this weekend is the best of the 3 films we have to cover here, and that is Samuel L. Jackson in the story of Coach Carter.
On the streets of Richmond, they fought to get by. Struggled to get out. And if they had anything left, they brought it to the court.
Your boys don't need practice, they need prison. Good afternoon, young man.
Are you some preacher, man? Because God ain't gonna do you no good in this neighborhood.
Lead the chair.
I ain't scared of nobody, because I'll lay you out.
I don't think so.
Teachers ain't supposed to touch students.
I'm not a teacher. I'm the new basketball coach.
Motherfucker. I mean, really, Samuel L. Jackson's lines in this trailer could end with the phrase motherfucker, and you would listen to him right away because the man is a master craftsman of saying that line. But this is the story that's based on a true story about Richmond High School basketball coach Ken Carter, who made headlines in 1999 for suspending his undefeated high school basketball team due to poor academic results. And you also see Rob Brown is in here, Ashanti, Robert Richard, and Channing Tatum in his first feature film, which is funny because in the trailer, as you go further, he actually gets a couple of lines and actually does appear in there too. So you can tell where he is right away, and that's pretty impressive for a movie like this. And the film itself is a really good movie. It's a really engaging film. You know, yeah, it's very much the typical sports movie formula that you could have here, but Samuel L. Jackson, man. Samuel L. Jackson, like, anytime you put him in something, he will always give 110%. Even if the role is not that great or the movie isn't that great, he'll usually give it his all, and we're going to see that a couple times over the next couple of months in 2005, because there's another movie he made with Eugene Levy called The Man, which is a terrible movie, but man, no pun intended, he does steal the show in that movie, because he's the only one that's actually trying to save that film. But in this movie, yeah, it's pretty much formulaic stuff we've seen done to death, but it's still very impressive stuff. You got a great director in Thomas Carter, who did Save the Last Dance and Metro, a really strong cast, including, as I mentioned, you know, Rob Brown, Ashanti, Channing Tatum. You also have Adrienne Balone from High School, Cheetah Girls, the Cheetah Girls, excuse me. I was going to say, I thought she was in High School Musical, but no, she's in the Cheetah Girls. Octavia Spencer is in here in a very early role in her career. Just a really good movie, a really fun movie in general, a really good film, but benefiting with the strong performance by Samuel L. Jackson and this young cast he has to work with here. And yeah, it's very formulaic, but it's still a very solid and very entertaining film overall. And for the dumping month of January, that's the best thing you can ask for, is a movie that is really a damn good movie. And it is a really damn good movie that I do recommend checking out. It's definitely worth the watch, Coach Carter. So with that said, let's move on to our next movie, which is the film that's not quite good, but not quite bad either, and certainly better than the trailers would make you think it is. It's Racing Stripes.
For more than 250 years, Kentucky has defined the world of horse racing. Here they go. A sport rich in tradition, where fortunes revolve around the breeding and training of the perfect racing animal. But no matter how much money or effort is spent on this eternal quest for speed, there are no sure things.
Next January, for anyone who's ever believed in a dark horse,
But it's anybody's race right now.
cheered for the long shot,
Here they come, riding pole position.
and rooted for the underdog,
Rounding the turn and bearing down the home stretch.
all bets are off.
I don't believe it. Have you ever seen anything like this? What an incredible burst of speed. Whoa, there goes a zebra.
That ain't a zebra, man. You gotta get your eyes checked.
I ain't got that kind of time. You know how long it takes to get 10,000 eyes checked? Holy moly, he's flying. He better win. We bet the farm on him. This is unbelievable.
Racing Stripes.
See, boss, you look, but you don't see. I've always said that I have a keen eye.
Oh, okay. Now, who needs the eyes checked now? You get out of here so the people can see what day the movie starts. Folks, please leave a little something on the floor. Flies need love, too.
Maybe jam a milk dud under your seat so I can munch on that later.
How about the little chocolate stuff with the little white snow caps on it? You like those?
I know what you're thinking. Just bear with me, because the movie actually is a lot better than that trailer would put on here, and most of the trailers would put on here, because, yeah, it's very, kind of like with Coach Carter, it's a very generic story, where you have a story where you have this circus plain zebra, Stripes, voiced by Frankie Muniz, who's accidentally abandoned in Kentucky and raised on a farm next to a racing track. He believes that he's a racehorse, and Stripe dreams of training for and competing in the races. This would never happen in real life. The fact that they would let a zebra run in a competition that's strictly for horses only, but movie logic, you just kind of go with it, and you see the cast that they have in here. You got a voice cast that also includes Frankie Muniz, Mandy Moore, Michael Clark Duncan, Jeff Foxworthy, Joshua Jackson, Joe Pantoliano, Michael Rosenbaum, Steve Harvey, and David Spade as the Flies, as you can tell, Snoop Dogg, Fred Dalton Thompson, Dustin Hoffman, Whoopi Goldberg. A live-action cast that includes Hayden Panettiere from Pre-Heroes, Bruce Greenwood, who would coincidentally be in Charlotte's Web, I think, the next year. At least I think he was in Charlotte's Web. I could have sworn he was in there, but if it's not him, it's a pretty damn good Bruce Greenwood lookalike. But also Wendy Malick and M. Walsh is in this as well. Directed by Frederick Duchow, who, I'll tell you this is probably his best overall movie as a director, because he did Quest for Camelot before this, and then Underdog after this, so yeah. Easily his best movie overall. And it also has, I think, the benefit of a script by Kirk D'Amico, who's a name you might not be familiar with, but you may have definitely seen his work before, with stuff like the Croods movies, which were... The first movie I thought was a very good. Sequel, not so much, but still pretty good. Vivo was a criminally underrated Sony Pictures movie that came out around the pandemic. It was stripped off to Netflix. And most recently, he did Ruby Gilman Teenage Cracker, which I think is a really impressive film that really did not get a whole lot of attention. And yes, this is about as much of a kids film as you can get. A lot of jokes that are very predictable, a story that are very predictable. The jokes I should say are really not that great in general, but its heart is in the right place. It's a film that's at least trying to do something unique and impressive overall. And considering that this film didn't cost as much as you would think it would, it only cost $30 million. A movie like this feels like there should have been a much bigger budget attached to it, and yet, surprisingly, there wasn't, and there was not. It's really impressive what they're able to do with the small amount of money that they would have for a movie like this. Like, you would expect this to be like somewhere between up near $60+ million. I mean, it feels like that type of a film, but the fact that they kept the budget so constrained in here, and it actually looks like a film that actually feels like it should be more, I gotta give it credit for doing that. And the film isn't really that bad. It's a movie that's very much a similar film to, Babe, or live-action Charlotte's Web, before we got the live-action Charlotte's Web in the next year, in 2006. And, like I said, it's a movie that is entertaining enough. It's entertaining enough for kids. I think adults can go into it and just watch it and be like, that was completely harmless. It's a very harmless movie, which, yeah, movies like this tend to be really damaging to kids in general if you pick the wrong movies, like the Alvin and the Chipmunks sequels. But this is not that type of a movie. It's a film that's at least trying. It's a film that's trying to be entertaining. But I think the kids definitely will get more enjoyment out of it. And I think the adults can get some elements of good things out of it too as well. And like I said, not the greatest movie, but certainly not as bad as it could have been. This film could have easily been a movie that the studio did not believe in and just dumped it out on this weekend because they knew how bad it was. It could have been another Good Boy, but it really is not. It's a film that's okay, nothing spectacular, but you can watch it once and you feel like you've gotten something out of it, honestly. So yeah, that is Racing Stripes. So let's go ahead and move on to the unholiness of the unholiest of our trilogy of films that we have this week. I don't even know why I said that. It's just random off the cuff talk right there. But this is easily the worst movie coming up here the whole weekend. And one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And that is the Daredevil spinoff, Elektra.
For centuries, those with extraordinary powers have waged a secret war for supremacy. between good and evil stands a warrior.
Her name's Elektra.
Like the tragedy. Your parents must have had a sense of humor.
Not really.
She has mastered the skills of the past. She can weed the shadows of the future.
I see what's gonna happen before it happens. She's my friend.
She doesn't really know who you are.
This January,
It's about her, isn't it?
She was a prodigy from 5 years old.
You'll be better than I am very soon.
one generation must protect the next.
War's just begun.
I'm not a good person to get involved with.
I said it with Blade a couple weeks ago, and I will say it with Elektra. Thank God for Deadpool and Wolverine giving this character a purpose for existing, because, man, she really needed it after this movie came out. Nobody wanted to see anything from Daredevil anymore. And I can't blame them, because I'll tell you people something. I've been going to see movies on my own for about half a year at this point. When I saw this movie, it was the first real unpleasant movie-going experience I ever had. And it was rough. It was definitely a very rough movie, and I've had far worse experiences since then. Stuff like The Spirit, Aliens in the Attic. I had stuff with problems with The Legend of Tarzan and Oppenheimer from the people in the movie theater, but this was the first real big one right there. And it's amazing I didn't walk out of this movie. I was strong back then. I'm still strong when it comes to bad movies. I will sit through them no matter what. And even though, like this past weekend, I struggled to sit through Borderlands, but I got through it, and yeah, Borderlands is pretty bad. But this is definitely pretty bad too. So the plot of the movie here is that it's not long after recovering from seemingly mortal wounds, Elektra, played by Jennifer Garner, has severed all ties with the world, living only for her next assignment. But in an unexpected turn of events, she is forced to make a decision that could take her life in a new direction, or destroy her. Key players in Elektra's journey are Stick, played by Terrence Stamp, a blind martial arts master responsible for Elektra's resurrection, and Mark Miller, played by Goran Visnik, and Abby Miller, played by Kirsten Prow, a father and daughter on the run from The Hand, a powerful syndicate whose members practice the dark martial arts of Ninjutsu. First off, The Hand is... I didn't realize that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was actually parroting the Hand by calling them the Foot Clan. I found that out watching the Nostalgia Critic review, but that synopsis alone should describe everything that's wrong with this movie. It throws in some of the stupidest cliches in film, and I'm so sick and tired of like having a mythical spirit who has no purpose because the film has no connection with Daredevil at all. And Stick was the one who helped Daredevil become the hero he would eventually become. Plus, they throw in that stupid father-daughter plotline that really does not serve a purpose to the story whatsoever. The action sequences overall are poorly done, with no sense of fear or danger by anybody in here. The story is very bad. We don't like any of these characters that this movie is trying to get us to like. And Jennifer Garner, I'm sorry, in this movie she's not Elektra. She's just not. This was clearly a poor excuse to attempt to squeeze whatever life was left out of Daredevil, and it fails miserably. Yeah, I know she was an Alias at the time. Yeah, I know she did 13 going on 30. But, man, this was a bad decision on her part. Like, you could tell that they did not give a shit about Daredevil, because in that trailer I showed you, no mention of from the forces that brought you X-Men and Daredevil. Like, they knew this movie was going to tank so badly, they didn't even want to put Daredevil's name in there. I mean, that's how bad this movie is. Yeah, it's not Catwoman bad, but man, it's definitely not a good movie. And yeah, but my biggest problem with the film itself is the main character. And my biggest problem is the film itself and the main character is what I'm trying to say. And I've gone on before how, female leads are portrayed in films, and this is one of those movies where they pretend to show off a strong female hero, but is actually a poor excuse to give the character a lot of sex appeal, a lack of characters, and there's even a scene there's one scene in particular where one of the bad guys, who was a female, comes in and gives Elektra a lesbian kiss. And yeah, for no reason, because what I expect to get those 13-year-olds watching this a little hard on, which, yeah, I realize how bad that sounds, but that's literally what they're doing in this movie. I feel like they only did that to get the PG-13 rating. I mean, that's literally, like, it just does not make any sense whatsoever. I mean, when will, I think now Hollywood is learning that it's not hard to make a movie with a strong female lead in it. I mean, we've seen a lot of TV shows and movies do this. The Fargo movie, and TV series have done that. You know, some great underrated little gems. Whip It. You know, Juno was a great movie that did that. Hannah, which I didn't like, I at least gave him credit for writing a much better female character than a lot of these movies that were doing the same thing at around the time. Yeah, like, it's not that hard to make a strong female character who's on the same level of a lead male character. Hell, Ellen Ripley from the Alien movies tops the list there. I mean, you know, but most Hollywood executives think one thing about women in films is that women are things. You know, just like Lee Majors says on Family Guy. What? Women are things. I mean, it's really like that. And we're getting away from that now, which I'm glad to see. But you could still see that Hollywood is living by that point when you watch shitty movies like Red Sonja, Catwoman, Sucker Punch Lucy, and especially this piece of garbage here. I mean, this is a terrible movie. The action is terrible, the story sucks, the characters are bad. This is a mess of a movie. I mean, forget Hulk, forget Howard the Duck, forget all the Marvel's movies made before 1998. This is the bottom of the barrel. This is the worst movie that Marvel has ever produced, without a doubt. It's completely pointless, unnecessary, and it's absolutely horrible. I hated it back when I saw it in theaters. I gave it time 10 years ago for a Marvelous May post I wrote. I didn't like it then. I watched it again just recently. I still fucking hate this movie so much. Avoid it like the plague, please. Avoid Elektra at all costs. And on that beautifully positive note, we're going to wrap up this episode of Time About the Movies today. And next time around, we've got 2 movies, including Ice Cube's family comedy hit, Are We There Yet? And also the remake of John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13. So we'll take a look at both of those movies, both on the next episode. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But also, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page. Check out the previous episode. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.